Hey everyone, welcome to Wildlife Inspired. This is your channel for photography, for wildlife, and for wildlife photography. I'm your host, Scott Keys, and today I've got a really great product, a thermal monocular, a high-end thermal monocular from a company called NVECTECH, and I'll tell you all about it right after this. Now, a couple months ago, I did a video about thermal monoculars, and it was really about price points and what you can expect and some of these good, better, best features of thermal monoculars. So a little bit of a buying guide with some comparisons of monoculars that I was using that day. What I didn't have at that time was a really high-end thermal monocular. After I posted that video, a company saw it and reached out to me and said, Scott, we might be able to help you out because we do some high-end thermal monoculars, and if you'd like, we might be able to send you one and you can test it and review it and take a look at it. So this was sent to me by a company called NVECTECH. Now, before I get into this, I want to make very clear how I get my hands on everything. Sometimes I make the videos toward the end, I forget that I told you how I got it, so I'm going to tell you right up front. This is a very expensive piece of equipment. So generally when I work with companies, we're talking about hundreds of dollars, sometimes even less, of gifted gear for me to review. Get my hands on it. Normally they just send it to me, no strings attached. If I like it, I make a video. If I don't like it, I send it back or I give them like a written reply on what is not satisfactory. And I've done that plenty of times. I've got some equipment sitting in a closet over there that I just never reviewed because it didn't meet my standards. So I only make a video when it meets my standards. Now with it in NVECTECH, they said, Scott, this is a pretty expensive piece. We're not in a position just to gift it to you. However, we'll lend it to you. If you like the product and you want to make a video, we're happy to compensate you for time. So basically that's the arrangement we worked out. If I didn't make the video, nothing lost. I didn't like it, I send it back to them. If I did, they're just going to give me a small compensation. And I talk a pretty small compensation just for the amount of time to actually make and produce a video. So that's the arrangement I have with them. I'm happy to do the video because it's a really fantastic piece. I'm going to put a chart up here before we get into this because I just have to jump back to that video I made before. The thumbnail's over here for that video. So if you're curious about thermal monoculars, this will give you a lot more detail on it. I'm going to put a chart up from that video, and this talks about kind of the low-end standards for thermal monoculars and the best features. So I graded these out like low, good, better, best. And there's a couple of these that really stand out and they drive price up. The first one I want to talk about is resolution. That's the first one. And we talk about resolution, that's the sensor that's inside here. So just like a camera does, it's going to project an image using the lens, and it's going to put that optical image onto a sensor. The larger the sensor, typically, the better the image quality. I'm going to put that as a standard. And it also makes a larger image, so a larger final file if you're taking pictures with it. But if you're just looking at it, you've got the opportunity to see more detail, especially when it's paired with a longer lens. So you'll see at the bottom of this, I've got lens diameters. So 15 millimeters, pretty small. You see that on some of the lower end. On the higher end, you start to see like 30, 35 millimeters, sometimes even up to 50. So I'll talk about all of that when I get into the specifications of this, but I just wanted to let you know kind of what that chart over there stands for. There's one other thing that's on that chart. It's called NETD, noise equivalent temperature difference, sensitivity to temperature differences. The lower that number, the better. And just notice on that chart under best, I put anything under 25 MK. On the low end, anything over 50 would probably be on the low end. So that's the chart. I'm going to leave it up here for a second because I want you to look at that and I want you to really focus on the best because that's what I'm looking at today. When I made the video, I didn't have anything in this category. The video ran for products somewhere around $500 up to about $1,500, maybe $2,000. That's the range that you get when you get up to this low, good, better. When you get into the best category, prices jump. So these increases in resolution come at a significant cost. There's almost an exponential increase in price when you get up to this 500 plus or 640 pixel resolution. When I use those numbers, 640, I'm talking about the number of pixels across. So the more pixels across, up and down, obviously, you're going to get more up and down as well, but that's just the overall resolution. So I left that chart up there because I wanted you to study it for a little bit, killed some time here, but now I'm ready to talk about this product. So NVECTECH gave this to me. This is a Ukrainian company, by the way, trying to get a little bit of a foothold into the US marketplace. So that's why I got my hands on this. They really are interested in putting this product out. They do higher end products. So they're not going to give you that budget price point product. So if you already know off the bat that's where you're looking at, this probably isn't the right one for you. If you're a high end user, then I would watch this video and let me show you what this looks like. In this video, I'm going to go through some of these kind of key features, move pretty quickly through this. Then I'm going to show you some actual images, like what it actually looks like out in the field. Then I got to, listen, if you watch this channel for anything, you know I tell you a story or two. I'm going to tell you one quick story as we get through this. So when I get into this, I'm going to pull up some information on it. I just want to talk about this build first of all. So IP67 is a weatherproof rating. So this is rated at IP67, as you would probably expect with something of this caliber. I really like this. Very easy in the hand. It's got a diopter, and I'll put a picture over here so it's a little closer. This will adjust for your vision. So again, you can dial this in so it's right for your set of eyes. It's got a power button down here. 1 second or one press will put it in a standby mode. Hold it down for 3, it'll power it on or power it off. At the front is a record button. Hold it once and you get a still image. Hold it for 3 seconds, it will record. And then it's got a joystick in the middle. Now, the joystick is a little bit, there's some pros and cons with this. By the way, I always do pros and cons. When I get anybody offers me a product, I say, listen, I'm going to do pros and cons. You have to know that about me. If you want a paid infomercial, go to another channel. If you want somebody, because my audience believes in what I tell them. And so that pros and cons is very important to me. A lot of companies are afraid to list cons. That joystick is a pro and con of itself. And I'll tell you why when I get to the layout of it. The pro is I can very quickly position my fingers on this and I can easily feel where they're at. Now, that may sound like a little thing, but having used 6 or 7 of these thermal monoculars now, when the buttons are all flush and feel the same, sometimes you're just in the wrong place and you go to hit a button and you've hit the wrong one. So you try to take a picture, but you're not. You're changing the mode that it's recording in. So it's easy when you can find those buttons right away. A few other things about this. Obviously, it's got a cover on the front. When we focus, we're going to use this really nice dial up front. Very easy to use and very smooth. And it feels really well built. Like everything about this feels really well built. And then the last part is just the kind of where the viewfinder is or the display inside. It's got a dust cover on here. And when you push it down, it's kind of clever. You push it down, it opens itself up. And then when you let go, that dust cover pops back on. So really like that feature as well. It comes with its little carrying case. I'll put the picture of all of that over here so you can kind of see what it looks like when you get it out of the box in the carrying case and some of the details on this. But a great build. Listen, if I was grading this one out, sometimes I do grading, this is an A. Like the build on this is a pretty clear A. There's a couple other things I want to talk about in terms of these features. Now, I want you to remember when I talked about the best features you normally will see on thermal monoculars, a display of 640 is going to be in that best category. You're going to pay a premium for it, but it's going to be in that category. The sensor resolution here is 640 by 512. I'm going to put some of that information over here. It's got a display resolution. So display being what you look at. I call these like miniature TVs. You're actually looking at a tiny television set in there. And that's an AMOLED display, 1024 by 768. So really nice. Very vibrant, very easy to read. 50 hertz refresh rate. And what that means is as you move this and you're panning it and you're looking around, it needs to refresh itself. The faster, the better. When you get to 50 hertz, you generally don't have like a lag time. Slower ones, you'll actually feel it jump and kind of like buffering on a computer. It feels a little bit like that, but it kind of jumps, so it's not as good. But this one at that very high end. Another important feature of this is going to be this idea that it has this ultra high thermal sensitivity. Now, on my little chart, I said anything under 25 MK would be considered best in class. Well, this one goes even down further. This one gets all the way down to 18. So the thermal sensitivity, its ability to detect changes in temperature, is excellent. So I'll put a couple of the information features from the company up here, but I just got to tell you, in using it, it was really good. A few other things about this. In that best category, the thing that I looked at also was battery life. Anything more than 12 hours, I put it in the best category. This one's 16. I'll show you a couple other things that the company didn't even tell me, but I found out on my own about that I really, really liked. It uses that USB-C charger. Depending on how you are charging it, it might take you a couple hours to get up to that full 16-hour charge, but it lasts a long time. So really, really nice on that battery feature. And then a couple other things on here. And this was like the icing on the cake. So well built, great sensor, display is really, really good, sensitivity is amazing. Then they gave me all of this stuff that some of which I may never use, but I thought it was really cool, but some of it I will use. And I'll show you this in some still images in just a minute. It's got a GPS built in, it's got a compass built in, it's got azimuth, so that will, think of that as like tilt. It relates to the angle of the unit as it points to the sky. It's got an altitude sensor, so it tells you where you are at, high or low, and then it also has a temperature sensor. So it's just got so many great things. Video recording, still photography recording. It's got a Wi-Fi connection. It can zoom up to 4x. And in that best category for memory, I put anything at 64 gigabytes or over, and this has 64 gigabytes. Now, when I made up that chart, I'll put it back up here real quick. When I made up this chart, I had no idea this company even existed. It just so happens that they met every category on that best. So really, really interesting that they checked every box. Now, down in the bottom, I'm going to put, before I forget to mention this, there'll be a link to the company. You can click on that link and get more information. They've got a lot of products, so it'll give you all of their current pricing information and where they're at in terms of each different product. I told you this is the highest end that they have, so several $1,000s for this unit. But it is really, really, really good. All right, so I always try to give you some examples. I'm going to pull up a few examples, and as I'm doing that, I'm going to tell you the story. So the story is I was going to Alaska. I have done a couple videos with some images from Alaska. If you'd like to see my photography, just jump onto S-Keys Images at Instagram and you'll see some of my images from Alaska. And my thought was, let me get this before I go. The company was great. They sent it to me, took it up there. I'm all ready to go. I'm using it a little bit. It's working really well. I'm getting the hang of it. Like this is a week in Alaska was my time to get comfortable with the unit. And then I realized, okay, I got to charge it back up. I haven't done any content for them yet. I haven't recorded anything. And I was going to outsmart myself by just being very light with what I traveled with. So I took their USB-C charger and left it at home. And I just used this USB-C charger that I had. And it does not fit. So this USB-C charger, because it's weatherproofed, has a very tight seal, and the one I brought wouldn't fit in there, and it didn't charge the unit. I think also with this, if I'm not mistaken, it will accept universal chargers, but they do have to have a certain output. So an older charger may not work to even charge this unit. I used one of my newer chargers, I'll show you that in a second, and it worked just fine. So it does work with some of the universal features, but it may not work with a USB-C charger. So don't take it out to the tundra like I did in Alaska unless you're sure it fits. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to record content up there. What I can tell you, my biggest interest in this was to see the tundra, this flat area that tends to be very, very gray or very brown. And there's a lot of birds in there that just kind of hide. They're breeding in those habitats. I had a couple opportunities to scan the tundra. I did find some stuff in there. I just couldn't record it for this video, but it was a really nice application. It's also really great for finding birds that I think some of the other thermal monoculars would have missed. So for me as a bird photographer, that's kind of where my interest is. Let me show you what the quality output of this is. So that was my story. No more stories for this video. First video here is my dog. In part just because he is a beautiful dog, I'm going to show you. His name is Jax. It's about 10 feet away. I'm going to scroll through some of the different modes that it has, and you'll see him change in top right-hand corner. 10 feet away, the level of detail was just outstanding. I was just super impressed. Now this is a controlled environment. I'm doing this handheld, so apologize for the shaking. Really, really great quality. Let me pull up a couple of these to show you. So this first one is in the red mode. So this is where it will detect the heat and light it up in red. You will see on this one, by the way, across the top, I'm going to take an opportunity just to show you or tell you what those numbers mean across the top. So when we work from the top, you see the coordinates, that's a GPS. That 1x is the zoom magnification. Notice I'm not even zoomed in on this. We're gonna skip through those next three. Those aren't pertinent to this particular monocular. You see the battery life, you see the time, the temperature, then it's the altimeter and the azimuth, so the angle. All right, so that's what those readings across the top are gonna mean. Now I'm gonna show you a couple of still images from different modes. So this is actually captured as I was recording the video. So that's what that extra little box is off to the right. When I go to the white mode, tremendous detail. You can actually see like the little details in the fur, the whiskers. But Scott, how does this work in the field? You showed me your dog. Well, probably not going to use this to take pictures of my dog. So let me take you and show you a video of my yard. So this is a rabbit. Now I'm at a little bit more of a working distance, not zoomed in at all. So this is the standard dimensions. We'll look at the top and you're going to see there's that GPS coordinates. There's the magnification at 1x, time, temperature, altimeter, and then that azimuth. Now, I want to point out something else with this because I mentioned there's one thing I found out that I didn't know when the company told me about this. In the middle, you'll see that the battery is indicated in red. I'm going to pause it here so you can see it. That battery is now being charged externally. So I had an external power source. I plugged it in to recharge it, and then I noticed, well, I turned it on, it's working. Is this gonna work with an external power source? And it does. So if you're out in the field and you've exhausted the battery, you've been out for a long time, or you forgot to charge it, you can actually continue to use the unit while charging through the USB-C charger. Again, provided that the power source has enough, and I think it's measured in wattage, but it has enough output. So I was using one of my better battery charges and it worked really, really well. So that's my rabbit, 60 to 70 feet. All right, Scott, you're a bird photographer. Tell me about birds. So now I go out in my yard and I take at around 80 feet. This is a robin. I'll go through some of these modes so you can see what it looks like in the white mode, the black mode, the red mode, and you'll notice it's getting yellow. That yellow color really indicates it's lighting up very, very well. And then we'll see them fly off here and go on his way. But it was very easy to find. Like, the odd thing is, without the monocular, that bird was not easy to find because it has a brown color. It's kind of a area that's a little branchy. Even when that bird went into branches and in like kind of behind leaves, is if any part of him was sticking out, I would see yellow. So it was really, really sensitive to that, unlike some of the other monoculars that I had used. So that's my bird example. Now, as I was scanning these birds, I noticed some bees down in one of my pollinator gardens at my native gardens. And I just wanted to zoom this big screen and show you the detail. I could actually see the bees on the flowers. And I thought there was no chance I would see this. So I want to zoom this, make it big so you could see it. But man, isn't that cool? I'm gonna give you one final example. These are gonna be just still images. And I'm gonna pop two of them up here. This first one is just an image that's taken from a pretty good distance, about 100 yards or 100 feet away. Maybe even a little bit more than that. No magnification. You see again, there's all the settings at the top. I think this was a blue jay, and I want you to pay attention to the leaves and the trees that you can see here because I'm going to show you a direct comparison about the same size. And now I'm going to put one on the bottom, and the one on the bottom is a belted kingfisher taken with a device that didn't have as much resolution. It had a smaller lens. And you can see that 2.5x means it's even being magnified optically. And the difference in size here on the screen is the actual size of the output. So you'll see the top one's just a bigger output. It's got more resolution. So the file itself is larger. It displays bigger. The bottom one displays smaller. It's got less detail. And it's not nearly the same in terms of quality. So that one I thought made a pretty big or easily illustrated the difference between what you get in this very expensive price point versus what you get in a very good price point. By the way, the one on the bottom is not a low-end product. The one on the bottom is probably going to run you about $1,000 to $1,500. That's the output you got for that investment. The one on the top is going to cost you quite a bit more, but you can see the obvious difference. So pretty straightforward. A really, really nice unit. costing a premium, but giving you features that are just much more advanced than some of the other monoculars that are out there. If you're interested in a monocular, they do have other products out there, but I'm gonna put the information down below. I'll link this specific one, but I'll put a generic website listing for NVECTECH. Go check it out if you're interested or in this market. If you didn't see my first video, go ahead and check that out. And if there's another product review you want, I'm really trying to give you the most honest and the best reviews of products that I can, sometimes in a comparison format, or sometimes by including them in a themed video. So I've got some more videos coming up, some of those themed videos where I've just incorporated product to show you differences, and some every now and then I'll just do a specific product review like I did for you today. So hopefully you really, really like this. If you have any other products you're interested in, let me know. As always, thanks for tuning into the channel, and I hope we can continue to find inspiration in wildlife together.